Welcome back to Decentral Lounge, brought to you by GlobalStake, your truly decentralized SOC 2 Type 2 certified institutional bare metal blockchain infrastructure provider. I'm your host, Ryan Hazinski, head of protocol partnerships, along with my co-host, Wyatt Clancy, our VP of growth. Today, we're joined by Russ Franklin, founder and CEO of Hubzz. Hubzz is rethinking what online communities can look like, moving beyond flat feeds and chat rooms into a more immersive, social, and interactive environment where people actually hang out, explore, and engage together. Russ is a builder at heart with a background in entrepreneurship and design, and he and his team are focused on creating digital spaces that feel more human, more playful, and more connected. In this conversation, we'll talk about Russ's journey, what inspired Hubzz, and how he thinks about the future of online social places. So with that, let's dive in. Russ, welcome to Decentral Lounge. Why don't we just start off with how you got involved in this world of Web3? What brought you here?
Yeah, thank you for that incredible intro. I need to get you to write my elevator everythings. Really happy to be here. I love what you guys are doing and flattered to be involved and having the showtime to share. What got me started in Web3? You want me to go? That's pretty far back. I would love to dive in because that's the why behind every what that you're about to get an earful of. So I can 2017. You want me to go back all the way there?
It's your story, man. Yeah.
All right. He said it was fine. So 2017, late 2017. I mean, I've always, even before that, actually, had a deep interest of anyone making money in interesting ways. I happen to have been researching into Entropia Universe, some guy purchasing a planet and then fractionalizing it in another EVE Online when there was a clan war and they lost all this money because someone, anyway, like the fact that there was a stake in a video game, because I am a gamer at heart. I think that's the way I unwind and what I just kind of gravitate towards when I have free time. So my mind was there while I was out of the military in college, had a little bit more free time than I do now with 3 kids. So I was exploring. So everything I've really done in Web3 has been passion led. And so I segued from that research into discovering Web3, which was through Trust Wallet. And their discovery mechanism there led me into CryptoKitties and all the early Web3 projects. And if anyone was around 2018, it was few and far between. I think there was 10 or 15 projects on OpenSea. They were asking for beta testers. Founders were a message away. It was just very authentic presence and really the first interaction I had with the community in general, online especially, that felt like real and authentic through and through, because it felt like everyone was there because they really actually believed in the tech. Now it's more of a cliche, I'm here for the tech, but everyone kind of had googly eyes for what this could be. And it was just everyone was in experiment mode, and it was so fun to be a part of these like early experiments. There was a few games that I really dove deep into: Crypto Space Commanders, CryptoKitties, Axie Infinity, early into a lot of those, help build third-party applications. If you ever heard of Flappy Axie or the racing stuff, I did that one. So always been really big into coding. Made me a hot commodity early on because there was I don't know, I could code and design simultaneously. So I got tossed around a lot in these smaller groups and early projects. So that I don't know. I want to just go ahead and say that Pandora's box was opened. I never looked at video games the same. I still don't play video games, and like I always think about, man, that could have been vested interest somewhere or somehow. Like a dungeon crawler, for instance. Like I think when I put down the controller, I always wish that there was a level of immutability to that interaction and a return on time. So, anywho, I want to pause so I can collect myself and kind of not go too far into the rabbit trail, but very passion led, passion driven, happy that this existed in general. And I kind of just got here based on exploring. And yeah, I don't know. Like, was there a question that came up in the middle of that? Because I'm like trying to figure out if I want to go into like the deeper sides of the reasons why I chose to stay here, and then just I don't know if I need to like kind of give the full history. I worked at Stacks for a year and a half, and then I worked at Terra Virtua in the collectible spaces where I feel like I've just gravitated towards over time, figuring out why people enjoyed collecting. I became a collector myself, realized I had a affinity for independent artists during my time with Terra Virtua. Like, there's a lot of eye-opening experiences I had in Web3, and I think I started building because I felt like there weren't things being built out that really utilized the tech to its full capacity. And I actually came to the conclusion that it feels like a Web3 Cold War where we're battling the suits to protect the ethos of the liberating nature of Web3 and what it can do for, I don't want to say the middle class, but the people who didn't get a fair shot in this world that money begets money. And as long as you can afford a really good marketing budget, you can push your subpar service or product across the line. So I see Web3 as like the potentiality for what the internet should have been all along. And it's just the tooling. So that's what got me into Hubzz, but I won't skip that far ahead. I've been jumping around because this is like a concentrated version of my experience here. But it's always just like, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy this space exists, and I'm happy for the potential. But I'm also very aware that there's a chance that the Web 2 mentality could just reinvent itself in this space, and that scares me a bit. And I see that coming up a lot. So it's like I take a lot more of a serious approach to this space, I think, than others. And so maybe that'll come out in the convo, but I'll pause so I can reel myself in a bit.
No, that's really interesting because I mean, you mentioned things there that I could see were sort of the germination of some of these ideas that come along in Hubzz, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of just how, both the gaming aspect, but then also just sort of your kind of egalitarian outlook on, what this space is meant to be, and how you're trying to maybe foster that through something like Hubzz. And I remember in our first conversation before this podcast, when you were explaining Hubzz to me, that's what really kind of made my imagination go click, because of our lives becoming increasingly digital. So maybe let's shift a little bit toward Hubzz and what you envision Hubzz to be, because I love the way that you explained it. And I want you to kind of go through that sort of sociological explanation of why Hubzz is built the way that it is.
Yeah. And I want to preface that I didn't start with this like altruistic kind of approach. It was really just, I always convey it like a zip file that I've been extracting for 2 years, because this really did start that far back. And it implies the learnings that I've kind of soaked in over the years of being in Web3. But the quickest way to explain it is I really miss LAN parties back in the day, and just the presence behind being with your buddies, having the commonality of like really enjoying a video game together. My background is actually in human services with a focus on community development. And I think it was when it clicked is when I realized that true communities haven't been fully reflected online yet. Like we call a dynamic forum a community. A community is a lot of times used in a marketing message, come join our community or whatever. You have fragments of presence. Like, and I always believe that the reason why, the metaverse targets gamers for adoption first is because they're the closest to actually creating that holistic community environment online, right? So my approach is dramatically different in a lot of different ways, but it's we take like a very human-centered approach to how we've designed literally everything, because we're not going after gamers. We're going after social media users who are sort of stuck in the algorithmic discovery, infinite scroll scenarios. So with that in mind, we I don't know. It's like it was as far as like where to start. It started with Clubhouse, and Clubhouse was when the spark actually hit, because I felt during that time everyone had kind of like they're voided of social interactivity, and it was if you haven't used Clubhouse, it's like a group phone call. It felt exclusive because you had to have an invite to be there, and it was it felt like kind of like you're around a campfire talking with your buddies. So X Spaces is more a corporatized version of that. It felt just way more real. So when I was utilizing Clubhouse in the early days, just satiate this whatever void that I didn't even realize was there. I don't know. Like, I always wondered if there was uh, a 3D immersive world sort of attached to that level of convenience, like the infinite scroll, the tap to jump in, the basically nailing the convenience to a point where it feels almost just like an extension of social media and whatnot. And kind of got curious why innovation hasn't really happened there in quite some time. But the novelty behind that made me believe that people would be willing to dip their toe into something like an immersive virtual world that just gives color to the interactions that you can have online. So that's sort of what we're trying to create, as a new way to be online. But even further, and what I discovered is that, the death of the third place and how that's sort of becoming more and more prevalent. And as we're all working from home, and even why this project called GatherTown popped off, which is sort of like a co-working space, but in a virtual sense. And you can look into that. It's done really well because, you get to be amongst your coworkers online. But the third place is a type of community. First is your home, second is your workplace, and the third is your informal gathering areas. And so if you really think about it, gamers kind of can satiate that with a lobby before you jump into a Call of Duty match or something like that. The informal passing, it's the serendipitous encounters that you may have to discover bigger communities and things like that. In real life, it's like the coffee shop. You don't have the responsibility of a relationship. You just have the potentiality of a community or a relationship actually happening. And they basically deemed that the third place type community. And that's what's been going away, and what I believe can and should be recreated online, and not as a replacement of real world community, which is like the golden standard, but as an analog, because of the value of the niche interest groups that you can actually discover online. Like my best friends I've found online, because you're not dipping into the pool of just who's locally around you. You get to kind of have that what is it, Tinder? It's almost like Tinder, swipe left or right kind of matchmaking if you're in the right communities to start with. So all my Web3 buddies, obviously there's no mechanism for that, but level of, hopefully we provide that. So our approach is trying to create a third place online. I talk about the green dot on Discord, literally meaning nothing as far as where your focus is. The only way if a focus is on a channel is if the person's typing. So there's no level of presence being given online. And then the Venn diagram that we create is the convenience as well. So you'll see the metaverses in the past didn't really they'll tackle one part, not the other. They'll orient towards gamers and not necessarily the mainstream. So we like to think of ourselves as the evolution of social media. That's sort of like the hodgepodge way of explaining it without any linear narrative on that one. But if you want to pull at any one of those threads, let me know.
Yeah, well, so yeah, sorry to jump in here, Ryan, but I would love to pull on kind of the last thread actually and ask you, how do you see this iterating over time, with early adopters that might be really quick into the platform versus, the third place expanding for overall retail adoption? and how do you see that adoption taking place with kind of the slower adopters?
Well, we have the benefit of being a really great utility for what I call, and I can't find a better word to explain it, midfluencers. So just to give you a little bit of context, like a fraction of the top 1% of YouTube, Spotify, like they're the only ones making enough to have a living off of that income. There's a whole massive amount of creators who don't have a monetization mechanism to have the whole 1,000 true fans scenario, what Kevin Kelly talked about. So the benefit that we have is we are a very incredibly useful utility for that demographic. That demographic happens to have a dedicated true fan base. It's like they never sold themselves to the algorithm. They have fans that are like actually very engaged, and I've had a lot of these conversations where it's more like, oh, when can we use it? Someone about doing their next album launch on Hubzz and things like that. And so really with that in mind, it's sort of, you kind of get to the cross-pollination effect. So since we are a platform like pretty much created for communities to engage, and a community gathers under a light, a goal, an interest, and like organizations, you can think about how they have a goal. If you're like, there's all these different types of communities. We just lean heavy into entertainment, and our flywheel starts at content creators, and we happen to just be a really great tool for like this SoundCloud artists to engage with their audience. So that actually saves a lot of time on growth, because we get to piggyback off of pre-existing established audiences that they bring on. So that's the biggest. I know it doesn't directly answer your question, but our phase one and the flywheel in general starts there. And then we have actually a few other utilities that are being baked in over time. Our final phase is the stickiness push with an SDK that allows for interactive assets to be used for embedded experiences. So you can have an arcade cabinet that you can have a whole embedded game within our shell. So it's almost like a virtual Steam that you can walk around in. So that's, we don't leave out gamers and such, but we also don't lean so heavy into the social interaction part that we expect that to create the most return value. You mentioned retail. What was that question? Because it's a weird term for me. I always try to translate it.
Yeah, I guess it might even be the wrong interpretation, but I'm just saying, as it iterates over time, kind of the 5-year vision of who will be on this product and who will service.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is mainly a builder converted into a marketing strategist and things. There is one thing that remains the same, is learning how people use your platform. Like you can never tell exactly like the main use case until people are in there and getting the feedback loop and things like that. So our iterations and our keeping a pulse on our mega users and their feedback, it's sort of how we plan to iterate. As far as how we've strategized and the growth and how we keep the lights on, I can go into that as well. But for me, it's just making sure the product actually serves its purpose, which is to, it's the true fan economy. And that's the untapped oil reserve of the internet. And it seems like it's there on purpose, because once you learn how hungry these artists and creators are and how they've been sort of sold this dream, but always like a like never able to achieve it. It's like so strange until you get on one of these conversations, and how Hubzz can be that platform that gets them, to be able to engage with their audience in a way that not only gives the novelty, kind of similar to what Clubhouse did, but also, has an ongoing revenue mechanism for them that was unheard of in any other platform. So, yeah, I still don't know if I've nailed your question or if I danced around it. But if you can pick through there, let me know if there's anything I left out.
I mean, I think it makes perfect sense insofar as we see a world in which if you are a creator of any type, owning your own distribution is hugely powerful, right? So like leveraging Hubzz as a platform to give those fans direct access to those creators, I think is really, really unique because we, in a world where artists, for instance, who make music, they're sometimes dominated, they're just concerned about streaming, right? And I need to hit like 1 billion streams to earn a small amount of money. But if they sell even to a few thousand fans direct a brand new album for $20 or something like that, that's a download or whatever, they make way more money, right? And so I think having that direct access is something that's we're probably going to see this continue to grow. So
Yep.
It's interesting that you're thinking about these things in the build out of Hubzz. So looking at the future, like where are we in terms of like how close are you before Hubzz officially launches? How much of these things are going to be available for people to hop in, whether they're creators or just fans, and what's the future roadmap look like for Hubzz from here?
Yeah, the relationship with Somnia has really added some jet fuel to our roadmap, which January 22nd is the launch of our alpha, and it's a kind of what we call a pilot program that we onboard, like white glove, like take a white glove approach to onboard from our list of content creators that are have been waiting for all this time to have this to utilize. So January 22nd is the big milestone that will start or re-kick off everything that we have in store. This has been 2 years in the making, so it's going to actually roll out a lot of things that seem like impossible just because a lot of things are in the hopper. So I can touch on a little bit of the milestone or the features that are going to get looped in, because we have the selective immersion that's already embedded, which allows you to interface with the app either in isometric, first person, and it goes all the way to VR. With virtual reality, you can actually have the mapped out movements, so you can you'll basically be on your mobile phone looking, and you can see someone has more of a range of motion. Is because we have that cross compatibility all within the browser. It loads like a website, which I'm super stoked about. The other one is the interconnected open world, which is the next big milestone, which makes it where everything is has its concurrency. So you're in the world and you can look over the balcony and see all the other communities in what they have is called zones. And within those zones are subspaces owned by their community members, and the monetization mechanisms of all the things tied into there. So that's the next big iteration. And then the final one was what I was mentioning, the SDK for the smart items and whatnot. So sprinkled throughout that is a lot of massive partnerships that are in the hopper. Some I can mention. I don't know which one yet though, so I won't. But there's some bigger communities that have already committed to utilizing the platform for their online gatherings and events and things. So that's fun. And so in a weird sequence, that's all happening after January 22nd. We actually have a Storyverse as well, which is a kind of a narrative that explains everything that I've tried to explain on this interview, which is what happened to the internet in a fun story format with the characters, and it continues to grow as we onboard new communities. And so it's like our DC or Marvel universe, DC universe, Marvel, but with the people in Web3 and people who've been along for the ride all this time. It's so that's fun, and so that's going to be the medium we use mostly. And then hooking up with GlobalStake when we're ready to go fully decentralized, which is my most favorite part of the journey, is putting the ownership into the user's hands, and then going from there.
Well, Russ, it's unfortunate that we're bumping up against our time because we could definitely go for at least another hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
But tell the people that are watching how they can learn more and how to follow along with the journey.
Yeah, so we're always welcoming new members into our Discord. The Discord will eventually just be a index for all of our spaces in Hubzz. But for now, we have a home there where our community is active for any questions you have about what we're building on. Our Twitter is the place where we put the latest updates in real time. So be sure to follow there, Hubzz HQ, and hit me up. And if you have questions and want to be involved on a deeper level, we're always onboarding. And I love to share, or I love to give like a actual full tour of the platform. And I always explain that this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Especially on shorter interviews, I try to give a concentrated version. But if you have 2 hours and want to spend those with me and let me rabbit trail all over, you'll get to see the full picture. So feel free to reach out directly. And yeah, I'm looking forward to anyone who's curious.
Having seen that myself, I would highly recommend that people take Russ up on this offer, because we didn't do it proper justice without seeing what the Hubzz actually looks like on screen today. But we will be sure to link all of those socials, the website, everything else. And so you can reach out to Russ directly to learn more about the launch. So Russ, thanks for taking the time. For everybody who's been watching or listening to this episode of Decentralized, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the next episode.
Sweet.
Take care, everybody.